Welcome to 340 Banter. Today we're going to discuss the career paths of some of our team members and how they made their journey into the world of 340B. Some might be concerned that they're not on the right path into the 340B world, but at the end of the day, it's important to remember that everyone's journey is different. I think one of the coolest things about the 340B program is that everyone that works within the 340B program took a very different journey in. There's no one pathway
Definitely.
in. And really, I think everyone I've talked to says that they kind of fell into it. It's not what they were planning to do or aiming to do. They just kind of fell into it. The three of us all took very different journeys to get here. And I think maybe we could talk about those today because it might be inspiring for those who are looking to create their own path into 340B and maybe are worried that they're not doing it the right way,
Right.
even though there is no right way. You want to kick us off?
Yeah. And I think, starting off, kind of like we said in the past, is you don't go to school to be in 340B, right? And I think most people that are in 340B come from a pharmacy space. And so I have a different perspective on that, right? Because I'm not a pharmacist. I didn't start off in pharmacy. I'm an accountant by trade. And so I guess I'll just jump into like kind of how I got into here.
Yeah.
So I went to college for accounting, got an internship at a local CPA firm here. And it ended up being that the CPA firm specialized in doing single audits of community health centers. So that's the financial and grant audit that they receive every year. And I got really involved in that. And I was doing about 40 a year for the firm.
Can I jump in and just ask, did you, when you went into accounting and you went to go work for this firm, did you already have in mind, like, I want to do healthcare-based accounting or finance, or just kind of that's just where you ended up, so it's coincidence?
That's just the place that was willing to take an internship and let me do that there, and so
Cool.
just by coincidence. So get in there, and we did small business accounting and tax as well. But really I enjoyed doing the FQHC audits. I naturally was good at it. Was just something I picked up pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of fun doing it. I had fun interacting with the C-suite, had fun interacting with the board. And though I was there to audit, we were also there to help and give recommendations based on what we're seeing other health centers do from a grand perspective, right? Not just the 340B program.
Yeah.
But 340B is super important to our health centers. So one of the things we would do is we called it the visit summary. So at the end, our exit conference for every audit, we'd go in and we'd say, okay, here was your bottom line for the year. Every single health center, we wanted to stress the importance of 340B was if I took 340B out, so if I took all revenue and expenses associated with 340B, almost every one of our health centers was operating in the red. So 340B really is a crucial lifeline for the FQHCs, for the patients directly, but indirectly for us to fund things like dental that typically don't produce, they typically produce a pretty big loss for a community health center because of our sliding fee. And so, I don't know, I just naturally got wrapped up in all that. The 340B program was expanding, and the owner of the firm said, hey, Michael, I want you to learn everything about 340B. I want you to know everything. I want you to, so I started going to conferences and stuff like that. Well, then we had some health centers reach out that were on the audit side. And they said, hey, we really need, people are talking about this 340B audit that you should have annually. Do you do them? Would you be willing to do them? So I bring it to the owner of the firm. I say, hey, I think this is a great opportunity. We're already working with these health centers. And technically, it's not actually an audit in a CPA realm. It's an agreed upon procedure. So there's no risk of independence and all these different things.
And you're already reviewing all the finances, which directly tie into the 340B program.
Yeah, and that's a huge piece of it, right?
Yeah.
We got to get that part right. And so by doing that, it brought it to the owner, and he just said, well, we don't have time to do that. And so my response to that was, do you mind if I do it then? On my own, I'll do it on, I'll spend most of the time on the weekends, and then I'll use my PTO for any time I have to be off. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. And so I get into it. I'm doing these, and I'm just doing a handful. I'm just starting. It's these people that have asked us to do it. And then all of a sudden, I find out my wife is pregnant with our second daughter. And so for me, the move wasn't that I saw this vision of us having this 340B company that's well known. Like that was not the vision. It was more of the fact that I didn't want to not know my kids growing up. To me, that was a very important piece, something that I've always wanted. And so talked to my wife and I was like, hey, I did a couple of these. Surely if I spent all my time, right now I'm working 75 hours at the CPA firm a week and then doing 340B stuff. If I do all my time, I think I can figure it out, and I think I can, supplement my income and replace that income. And so I was very fortunate that as soon as I started, health centers and they found out that I was leaving Terry to work on 340B, they all realized, hey, I need more help with this. And at the time, I just wanted to do audits, or at least that was the plan, right? We're just going to do annual audits. I'm going to go around and do all these audits. And the first one that I was doing an exit conference for, when I decided to go out on my own, at the end of that conference, the CEO at the time said, okay, this is great. How much for you to help us run this on a monthly basis, right? And I think
because you're giving them the list of here's what you need to work on, but they don't have the staff and infrastructure
how to follow
to
through
fix it.
on that. And
it was this aha moment of, you know what? And you kind of think about, health centers could use help, not just coming in and telling them what's wrong or the issues that they could have. They need help monthly doing this stuff, right? And so we set that up, and as soon as I did one, I let some other folks know, and they're like, yeah, that sounds great. And, one of our big things was, and still is, we don't lock people into contracts. And so when I started the company, I realized a lot of people were locked into these TPA agreements that were several years long. And I thought it was a bad business move, because what would happen is an unhappy client locked into a contract is probably not going to talk good about you in the space, right? They're going to spread the word.
Yeah.
And so we took an approach of saying, okay, it's month to month, so you have no risk.
Yeah.
And even in the beginning, there was, I'll do the first month free. I'll charge you nothing. I want the opportunity to show you what I can do.
Yeah. I mean, that's nice from the covered entity standpoint too, because there's a lot to be said for fresh eyes, right? So there are covered entities who want to change it up every couple of years and have a different organization look at their program, because when you have the same person or the same people reviewing the same stuff all the time, there's the chance of getting complacent.
You overlook things.
Yeah. So I think that the shorter contracts are really nice from the covered entity standpoint. There are also covered entities that are required to change up companies every year or two, so that they do have those fresh eyes. So it's nice that you were able to build that business model that keeps your clients happy, but also from the covered entity standpoint, facilitates the ability to move around within the space and get fresh eyes.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, I didn't know, like, I knew enough. I knew what to do. I knew how to, and the program was so much more simple at the time. We didn't have all these restrictions, right?
Yes.
And I tell clients all the time, especially those that I have those long-term relationships, my first original clients, if I were going to start to leave the CPA firm today, there's no way I would be like, hey, I'm going to start a 340B consulting firm, because it's so complex.
I mean, the manufacturer restrictions alone are a full-time job to manage.
Absolutely. And so, but all that being said, that's how I got into this. It was just by chance. I wasn't thinking I was going to get into pharmacy. I was doing accounting, and I didn't make the move because I thought, oh, there's this great opportunity to start this firm. I made the move thinking, I want to be home with my kids.
Yeah.
And so that was the move.
And I love that family life is what really started the company, because I think we see that in the way we operate now, is that we put a real focus on our not only our employees' families, but also our clients. We take an interest in their lives.
Yeah. And I think by us as a firm having that stance, and the hey, you need to take care of your family first before you take care of work. We get a positive benefit out of that, and our clients get a positive benefit out of that as well, because when you're willing to go to bat for your employees, I think your employees are willing to go to bat for you. They're willing to make sure things get done, and it's been such an amazing, yes, have there been challenges? Have we had to deal with manufacturer restrictions? All these things. But kind of the last piece that I want to wrap my story up with is, when the manufacturer restrictions started coming out, that was the green light for me to realize I need more help than just me. Because at that point, though I had other employees, I didn't have industry experts per se at the time. I was that for the firm. And I knew, or I guess you don't know, but I assumed that if I didn't find additional resources to add to our team, that I was going to get in over my head.
Yeah.
And that's when we added Felicity on. Great move for us, and then from there, we saw the benefit as a firm from bringing good people and key people from industry onto the team. And, and we've continued to do that, right? We're bringing you guys in. Just a really, but I'll tell you what, and I'm wrapping up right now for my story, but the coolest thing and the thing that I'm most proud about is that our clients design the services that we provide now. I came out thinking I'm going to do these audits, and we still do audits, and we're great at those. But the majority of our service line are based on what the customer told us they need.
Yeah.
It wasn't that here's what we built. This is what you have available. If you want it, you can have it. It was, we tailored all those to meet our customers' need. And I just think that for me, it's so cool that the customers really built what we are today.
Yeah.
It was the clients that helped.
And continue to. Right. I mean, the manufacturer restriction piece wasn't, that was a surprise too when that came out. It was a surprise to everyone. And it's continued to become more and more complex. And you didn't start offering services to help support it right away. Right. And then once covered entities were saying, hey, we're taking a bad hit on our 340B savings and it's impacting our patient care. Can you help us navigate this? Each restriction is different, is more complicated, is hard to figure out what to do or how to do it. And you're able to kind of grow out another service out of that.
And our existing service lines grow because of that too. Audits are our oldest service line, and we have had a client say, while you're here, can you take a look at our entity-owned pharmacy? And we've been able to offer enhanced auditing services where we send a member of the pharmacy services team to review that while the 340B compliance audit's happening. So just taking those ideas and growing with them, and not everything's going to work every time, but really listening and reacting from there.
And that's where our pharmacy implementation service, where we help health centers open in-house pharmacies, that came from restrictions as well. We saw the light at the tunnel there. We're like, hey, if this continues, it's going to be very important for entities to own their own in-house pharmacy. And, it's just trying to pay attention to what people need have really helped us, be a good partner. We want to be a good partner. We want to be a good steward of the program and make sure it operates efficiently. And so that, that's an interesting piece because it's kind of how I got in the industry, but also how the firm started, right?
Yeah.
And so they're kind of unique, but they're kind of meshed together because in the beginning it was just me at the firm. What for you, Logan? How did I know you were planning on being a pharmacist? You did that, but how did you get into the keys? I say this wrong, I guess, but I see you as a key player in the 340B industry, particularly with health centers. So how do you go from I'm going to be a pharmacist to being a thought leader, someone that's well recognized in the space? What happened for you?
I think the key there was my plan B. Before I thought about going to pharmacy school, I wanted to be in politics.
Really?
I love this.
Bless you.
Yeah, no thanks.
That takes a special person.
I didn't necessarily want to run for office, but I wanted to be part of the civic process. I've always been interested in it. I've been interested in advocacy, but I was at a place where I was in retail pharmacy. I tried for a residency right out of pharmacy school, and I didn't match. I know a lot of pharmacy students go through that, and it's a pretty devastating time. So I went into retail pharmacy, and I loved it for a while. But in an all too common story, I experienced burnout. I was to the point where I was looking outside of the profession for a different job and was hating going to work. And my faith is so important to me. There was one of these days I was sitting in the parking lot before work, and I just said, God, you've got to put me at peace at where I'm at,
Right.
or open a door. And the next week I saw a posting for a director of pharmacy at a health center. Didn't know what I was getting into. I went into the interview. I knew I had filled scripts for them for years.
Right.
Thought I knew the 340B program, and I really didn't.
Scratch the surface.
Yes. Went into the interview thinking, okay, they don't have a pharmacy, so they're probably wanting to start a clinical pharmacy program. Big thing in FQHCs. So I had been board certified in ambulatory care pharmacy, and like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll figure it out. Get into the interview, and I'm sitting there with the chief medical officer and the operations manager, and they're like, we need somebody to open a 340B pharmacy. Like, well, it's going to be a challenge, but it's one that I'm willing to take on. And one of the things I talked about is I had volunteered on the board of pharmacies, rules review committee. So I was pretty in deep with the board rules, and also very active in the Ohio Pharmacists Association. So I had a large amount of contacts, and I'm not afraid to pick up the phone and phone a friend.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the job and made many mistakes along the way, because we tell anyone that's thinking about opening a pharmacy that pharmacists are really great at the clinical, but they don't know how to open a pharmacy. So
the business side of it, you don't get as much of in pharmacy
You're
school.
not taught that in pharmacy school.
Yeah.
So we got the pharmacy up and running, and very quickly, like during that 6 months that we were working on getting the pharmacy up and running, I am not one that wants to sit still.
Right.
So I was trying to read anything I could about the 340B program. And this was before the pandemic. There weren't that many webinars and things. So I was finding vague references to 340B and just reading it all. What a lot of people don't understand about our program, and I think you realize pretty quickly when you get in the space, is the people that work in this program, they become experts really quick, because there's not that many people, and you have to.
Yeah. Sink or swim.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
exactly.
Trial
And-
by fire.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think what really helped me grow in it was that love of the civics and the legal and regulatory, because I'm reading these documents, I'm looking at the statute and guidance and blending those together and being able to interpret things in a way that a lot of pharmacists don't think, because I'm a nerd. I like that stuff, where most pharmacists don't. And I think that that's been valuable for me, and it allowed me to grow in the program. And one of the biggest highlights of my career was being able to help pass PBM protections for 340B pharmacies in Ohio by leveraging that side of my interest that I never thought I would use when I went to pharmacy school.
Yeah.
What pharmacist thinks they're going to be advocating for a bill? But this program allowed me to blend my love for pharmacy with my love for regulatory and policy work just perfectly. So it was a great amalgamation of what interests me.
Right. And the cool thing is, I mean, you do a lot of that for us now, right? Even though we're a vendor and we're not necessarily a health center, I feel like we're a little bit more integrated to the health center than most vendors are. You know, we really try to take that we are a partner and not just a vendor that you utilize. And so you're still able to do that for our health centers and do it quite often.
Yeah, I think one of the things we've noticed recently is that we're seeing a lot more state level bills come through, and that's a great opportunity to move things a lot faster than getting Congress to move, which has its challenges. But these health centers, a CEO might be used to going to testify for a bill when it goes to FQHC functions, but they feel like they get out of their depth, even if they are a well-educated CEO. You're not working in the 340B program every day, and you don't know how to answer the questions legislators might give you. So I think we've been able to work with our health centers that we work with to help walk you through what that process is going to look like and how you're going to answer those questions when they come up.
And it's so amazing to see that, right? Because we all have different skill sets. Mine is not the political advocacy side. Mine's more of the finance and how do we run this business. And so yours is there. And it kind of makes me wonder, Chelsea, what is it for you? Because though you both are pharmacists, you're,
I took a
coming
very
into
different journey.
It was way different for you.
Yeah.
It's crazy because anyone I talk to, no one has the same story. So, let's hear a little bit about your story.
So I after pharmacy school, I went through residency. My dream was to go to residency for ambulatory care or, clinical pharmacy and primary care. And I loved the way that the patient-centered medical home delivers care. So I really wanted to become an expert in the nuts and bolts of it. So my goal was to become a clinical pharmacist, work my way up through that for about 10 years so that I was an expert at how it ran, and then to go and help other health centers become patient-centered medical homes and provide better care in more rural areas. A big part of that, which I didn't know at the time, but a big part of that is the 340B program.
Right.
And my interview for my residency was with Felicity. And this will surprise no one, but I went in, she asked for what my 10-year plan was, and I laid that out, and she knocked on the table and said, 2 years, we'll get you there in 2 years. And I said, no, 10, I'm good with 10. I want to be able to learn all of the things that I can learn.
Did she also ask you if you're a dog or a cat person?
Thankfully, no, that came later on in life. Okay. I didn't have to deal with that in that interview. But she was like, nope, 2 years. So then I ended up going to residency there, and then very quickly realized, I still loved the clinical patient care, and we had retail pharmacies and I was working in those as well, but I am very operations oriented. So any process I started working in, I wanted to become an expert in it. And once I understood and could perform all the duties, I automatically started identifying ways that we could streamline the process, improve it, whatever the case may be, and then offering up those, whatever those solutions or ideas might be. And I don't know, 3 months into my first year of residency, Felicity said, we have a second year administrative residency. I think that you'd be a good fit for it. You seem to approach things from this direction. I said, no, I wanted to go clinical. I want to get into admin like 10 years in. And she's like, I really think you should do it now.
You don't argue with Felicity sometimes?
No, she's got like
she's
some
exhausting.
Yeah, like Jedi mind trick thing. But I was like, okay, all right. So like 3 months into my first year of residency, called home and I was like, I think I just signed up for another year of this in admin in the middle of Maine, in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And over the next 2 years, because as with most health centers, everyone wore many hats. Felicity was the only leadership, the administration for pharmacy. We were getting into accountable care organizations, and she was leading pharmacy for that. And we didn't have any management below her. So going through the administrative residency, I opened up a new pharmacy. I grew our clinical pharmacy services. I helped build out a lot of our 340B program, rewrite a lot of our policies. I learned a lot of the 340B piece just because it was part of
very new
pharmacy.
Pharmacist.
Yeah.
So you really didn't do anything then, is what you're
saying. Yep. Just sat around, twiddled my thumbs. So it was a lot of trial by fire, hitting the ground running, and I loved it. And I loved the idea that by becoming an expert in 340B, even though that wasn't my original goal, I was helping improve the care that could be delivered to patients. So my goal was originally to help increase incidence of the prevalence of patient-centered medical homes, to be able to improve care, primary care for folks, and being able to help many organizations with the 340B program to do that allowed me to do it on a large scale.
I think that kind of plays into a question a lot of pharmacists get in this realm, and is, do you miss that patient care and direct patient care anyway? And my answer to it is always that I'm still caring for patients. I'm just once removed. I'm helping all these health centers all the way across the country be able to grow their 340B program, which allows them to expand services. So I'm helping patients in a different way.
Yeah. And I do genuinely miss the direct patient care at times, but I find a lot of fulfillment and enjoyment and knowing that I am helping so many others be able to provide more direct patient care. Other cool things I went on to do, during my second year residency, I did a month-long rotation with Apexis, the prime vendor. So I went there for a month. I showed up and the entire company was, I think, at a 340B university. So there was no one there and I didn't have anything to do for 2 days, and which was fine because I'm me. Right. And so I went through every single FAQ and resource and Federal Register notice, read through everything. Everybody came back and I said, hey, I found typos in these 2 resources. And also, while I was at it, I took a swing at rewriting the contract pharmacy slide deck for 340B University because I wanted to, try out some new things. So it was really cool to be able to honestly like have a little bit of unstructured time there to start and really just dive into all the materials that they had, and then be able to have, boots on the ground experience working in the call center and seeing what the portfolio management aspect of the PVP was really cool. After my residency, I remained at the same health center as a pharmacy operations manager, while Felicity's role escalated to chief pharmacy officer, and she managed a lot more of our accountable care organization stuff. While I was doing that, I was able to serve as faculty for Apexis, which was cool because I could still travel around for 340B University and teach through that. Eventually, once Felicity left that health center, I was our interim director of pharmacy. And then I transitioned over to a hospital to do, pharmacy and 340B management there as well. And it was cool because a lot of the management and operations is very similar, even though the delivery mechanisms are a little bit different. And there's different types of complexities with hospitals. It was cool to be able to take a lot of the knowledge that I had from just trying to drink from a fire hose of 340B knowledge through residency in Apexis, and actually be able to apply it in the hospital setting as well. And then after that, I moved into consulting and worked for a firm that helped kind of all covered entity types, which was wonderful. Again, gave me a lot of exposure to different ways of managing the 340B program. They say you've seen one 340B program, you've seen one 340B program. So it's cool to be able to see so many different approaches to integrating the 340B program into supporting patient care, but also different ways to manage compliance, which is really cool. And then had the opportunity to come here. My first love was FQHCs and patient-centered medical homes. And while I still love being able to support other types of covered entities, it's been really nice to be able to kind of focus most of my energy back into what originally, was my goal within pharmacy and
back with Felicity.
Yeah, I can't. She's like a bad penny. I can't get rid of her, or she can't get rid of me. I don't know which way it goes. Maybe I'm the bad penny.
Maybe it's you. Maybe you're the thing. So I guess I have one more kind of catty question to ask you as we wrap this up. Being that you're the only one of us that has worked at both a hospital and a health center, and this is personal preference, not saying one is better than the other. Which one was more enjoyable, or do you feel that you got more fulfillment out of working for?
I really enjoyed both. I genuinely did. I think one of the tough things is that people that work in hospitals in 340B will say, well, hospitals are so much more complex because you have to deal with the GPO prohibition and the places, the places where you're using drugs and how you're using them is so different. And then you have to deal with documentation during, like by anesthesia folks or respiratory folks, and all of that is different. So the tracking is different. But then you also have FQHC or other grantee staff who say, no, ours is more complex because we just don't have the resources and the bandwidth. So we're having someone who has no background in 340B or potentially no background in pharmacy trying to help manage this.
A billing manager. Yeah. I've got one client that's who runs the 340B program.
Or you've got, with FQHCs, just the way that you build drugs in general, a lot of them are rolled up under the
Prospective Payment System, PPS.
I don't know why I couldn't come up with that. It was like federal pricing system. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, a lot of the drugs are billed under PPS, and that introduces additional complexities, especially around Medicaid billing. So I think that there are different types of complex and challenging between the covered entity types, and similarly different types of rewarding. And I really enjoyed both, and I still really enjoy working with both types of entities. But I guess my driving thing originally was that the way to best take care of patients in the healthcare system is at home and keeping them healthy.
Right.
Hospitals are really important for when you're sick and you need them, but taking care of patients and trying to prevent the extreme illness is super important. And a patient-centered medical home is an amazing way to do that because they can get all of that support in one place. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's still kind of my passion, my driving passion within the 340B world, but I did really enjoy working for both.
Well, and I think it's interesting too from our firm's perspective, right? I started off FQHC, that's all I know. And I go back and I asked you the question just out of pure curiosity because I don't know the hospital realm like you do. But it's crazy to see now, we have hospital clients that we also, because we do have, we have nearly 40 consultants now, and several of them have very great hospital perspectives on the program. And so, our name's FQHC 340B compliance. That's still where our main focus is, but it's allowed us to help other entity types and really excel their programs. So it's been great.
And I think something we've really focused on as a company is giving back to the 340B community. And a lot of that's education. Right. So things like 340Banter and our 340B Ladies Who Lunch and Learn, those are opportunities that we can give back to the community and help grow those people that are getting into the 340B space and giving them those opportunities, because I don't want somebody to have to go through what some of us older people in the field have done and had to dig for.
There are many people who will be very angry that you just qualified yourself as older in the profession.
I get that, but
now we're all in trouble.
People coming into it after the pandemic, I think, are in a different situation because there's all these web content, and something I think we've done it great as a company, and I'm trying to do in my personal life by using my opportunities and my connections with pharmacy schools to go in and teach elective courses on 340B, so our students aren't coming into it completely new outside of pharmacy schools. So that's just one place I think I really love that we've put a focus on.
I think that a great place to end this conversation is kind of coming back to just messaging that clearly none of us had a journey into 340B that looks anything like any of the others. And that's pretty much what exists out there. Everybody's journey into 340B is accidental, tends to be, and sometimes circuitous. But I think that there's no right way to make your journey into this space. Is just,
and it makes those conversations at the conferences about your background all that much more fun because we're all coming at it from a different direction.
Absolutely.